Hello everyone, I'm North Hempstead Town Supervisor Judy Bosworth. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have embarked on creating a virtual exercise series for our senior residents. We partnered with our Project Independence fitness instructors to host these virtual classes, which allow you to stay fit and healthy by participating from the safety of your home. Please enjoy.
Hey, good morning. For people that don't know me, my name is Mike, and this is going to be a senior-based fitness class. So whatever equipment that you need, I would suggest get that now. I have my band and some weights, and I will use them throughout the class. Copying along with me, follow along if you can. If you feel like it's getting to be too difficult, you stop. Get a drink of water, which I always have my water. And if you're still not feeling comfortable, you can then sit down. Most of this class will be done standing, which if you need to, I say sit down if you need. So I'm going to start off very gentle, beginning a warm-up. I'm just going to start to walk in place. I'm moving into the beginning of this. Which I will talk a little bit later, is about posture. So I'm trying to keep my head back. The tendency a lot of people do is we push our heads forward, rounding the spine. So I'll give a little bit of alignments of how we should be standing, and as we'll do movements that we need to do every day. This is just to get ourselves warmed up. And I'm going to start very gently on another movement that we need to do every day, and that's squats. Or we sit in a chair and we get out. So right now there is no chair. You can hold on to a chair if you need, but I'm going to stand with my feet about hip width apart, and I bring my hips back and take my arms up, and then I come back up to stand. Inhale. As I sit down, exhale, I stand back up. So we're doing at a moderate pace. We'll go through, we'll do more of these. I like to do squats. It's like so important for us. It strengthens more muscles than probably any other exercise that you can do. It's that important. And the important thing to alignment with this is it's the hips that come back. A lot of people want to bring their knees forward. The knees need to stay over the ankles. And the other problem that people like to do is lean forward. We have to lean a little bit forward, but you really want to make it like your chest is looking up at the ceiling. And we'll stop, and in between I'm just going to walk in place again. There's something also about walking in place which I didn't talk about yet, is when we walk, you run, you move, you want to, see I'm lifting my right leg, my left arm comes up. My left leg lifts my right arm. Sounds simple, but actually many people can't have trouble with that. It's naturally the movement of how our body is supposed to move. And then we'll move into a little bit of with our band. So I bring a stretchy band. So I'm going to start by just holding the band about shoulder width apart, and I'm just going to pull it apart. And you'll see at how much intensity, how hard is it to do this? If it's too hard, you make your hands wider. Because you want to do about, any exercise you want to do in a range of 8 to 12 for most exercises. So if it's too easy, you bring your hands closer together. It's like adding more weight to a dumbbell, which we will use. We have dumbbells available. And we're going to do what's like a press. I'm going to take the band around my back, over my shoulder blades, and I'm going to straighten my arms and bend them. I just noticed on the first one that I did, I lifted my shoulders up. You want to keep your shoulders relaxing down. Again, we're going to do about 8 to 12. You can do less if you're not feeling, if it's feeling like it's too hard. You could do more. This is doing resistance training, which is a light resistance depending on the thickness of the band. We'll move into another exercise that's very good. It's called a lunge. So I'm going to take a step back, one leg, and I'm going to bend the front leg. I don't have the chair close, but you can imagine you could have the chair right alongside you. You can hold on to it if you're feeling unstable. Right now, just keeping this easy. If you want to make it a little harder, you could take the arms up. And then we'll switch sides. Again, you could, so imagine you could have a chair over here. Just bending and straightening the leg. So like again, you could take the arms around and up. You could take the arms straight up. It's good to vary how you do things. Back to where I started. I'm just gonna walk in between. I know for some people, yeah, this is maybe too easy, but for other people, this might be really challenging. So I'm starting at a very easy level. I'll be doing more classes, and so as we proceed from week to week, I'll start to increase this. If you feel like it's too much, you can go back to the easier variation or classes. And then I'm going to come back to the band again, but starting again pretty much like I did before. I take the band, relax the shoulders down, always doing that. Doing a little bit more for it's the upper back that I'm working. I remember at the beginning I had said, try to keep your head from pushing forward. That's the muscles in your upper back. So we're strengthening the muscles that are needed to do that, to support your shoulders, support your head. And then taking the band again behind the back. This time I'm going to vary it slightly. I push my arms straight away less, and this time I'm going to take them up a little bit higher. Exhale as I press the band away. Inhale, slowly coming in. haven't talked as much about the breathing. That's more what we do in yoga, but it comes into everything we do. How we breathe, the alignment of our body. Okay, so from here we're going to change a little bit. I'm going to take my arms up alongside my ears and just straighten the arms. This strengthens the muscles in the back of the arm, those jiggly arms that a lot of people are always asking what to do. Well, this is something you can do. I'd like to do a little bit more than the 12. I like to put a little bit more emphasis in the muscles in the back of the arm. We tend to use the muscle in the front of the arm, which we are going to use now. I'm just going to put the band on the floor. I don't know how long your band is. You may have to secure it on something. And again, I'm going to bend my arm. Slowly lower down. I'm going to bring my hand a little bit closer down and bend the arm. We generally was rarely that we ever lift something by straightening the arm. It's usually when we bend the arm. That's how we tend to lift things. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, which, well, is approximately the same. I'm pretty much a little stronger on my other side than this. Couple more. Okay, you're going to come back to either you can walk in place, you can even stroll in place. As I go, I'm going to start to increase the intensity. So some people may want a little bit more juice to this. You can start to march in place. It's a little bit harder. We're going to go through pretty much the same exercises that we just did, changing, varying it just slightly. That's the hardest thing about exercise, knowing if you keep doing the same exercise over and over again, your body just gets so good at knowing how to do that. And the improvement starts to become less. So it's important to try to find different variations of the same exercise. So I'm going to come back. We're going to keep with the bands again. This very important, like I'm saying, we keep doing this exercise because we need to keep the upper back very strong. This tends to be very weak. That's why we tend to round and slump. It's because the muscles in the back of our body is a little bit weaker, and the muscles in the front are a little bit tighter. Okay, I'm going to come back again, bring in the band behind my back, over my shoulder blades. This time I'm even going to raise the arms a little bit higher, so now they're slightly above my head. I'm going to do about 12. If you're feeling like it's too much, you can stop and just walk in place, which I'm going to do now anyway. I'm just going to stroll along. I'll put my band away again as I'm coming into my favorite exercise, the squats. Something that we need to do. I'm going to start marching a little bit faster. So this time with the squats, a simple way to make this more challenging, I'm just going to make my feet a little wider. Before I had them at hip width apart, now they're slightly wider than hips. And I'm going to take the same thing, I'll bring my hips back as I take my arms up like I'm sitting in a chair. Which I know we all like to do. We tend to do that too often. So I slowly bring it down. I like to come up a little faster, firing the muscles in the back to extend my hips forward. Again, I'll come back. You can walk in place, stroll in place, or even march in place. So we're going to add a different variation of the exercises we did last time, focusing a little bit more on the shoulders. So again, I'll use my band. I'm going to stand on the band, and I'm going to just be careful. I would start easy with these, with very little resistance. I'm going to take the band out to the side, shoulder height, and lower down. So it's a little bit, I want to make it a little easier. I bring my hands closer to the edge of the band. So there's no need to bring your arm higher than your shoulder. I'll just switch over and do the same thing on the other side. Don't notice one side is different than the other. So then you may want to bring your hands closer to the middle. If it's too hard, so just move my hand a little closer to the edge of the band. That's how you adjust the weight, or in actually the better word is resistance of the band, is how much it stretches. So I'm going to go back to the first side, slightly different. I'm going to take the arm in front. This is strengthening the muscles around your shoulder. Again, if you're feeling discomfort, then stop. If you're new to exercising, you definitely want to keep it low. How many you do. Because it tends to seem easy when you're doing the exercises, and the next day you may feel a little less of yourself. The muscle fatigue leads to muscle soreness. So I'm slowly deepening, making the exercise a little bit more challenging. I'm going to come back to the lunges. So again, I'll start almost the same way. Again, if you need a chair, you would have a chair on the side. I step back with my left leg. I'm going to bend my right knee. I'm going to bend my left knee a little bit, so making it a little bit more challenging. Straightening the right leg. And if you want, you can take your arms around. So it's a little bit of balance too. Switching, going to the other side. This time I'm going to take the arm straight up and just to vary the movement. Again, my back needs a little bend. And there's a lot of ways to make this more and more challenging. And coming back up, I'm going to walk again. And if you're feeling like this is getting to be a little bit too much, slowly back it down. So you may be getting tired. Whatever you do, don't sit right down. You want to slowly allow your heart rate to slow and sit down. It's too much of a shock for the heart to stop all at once. So we're going to be increasing this intensity a little bit more. So we're going into this, we're going to go through those basic exercises again one more time. So if you need a drink of water, like I said, I always bring my water with me. Always need to stay hydrated. Again, starting with the marching or walking, I'm going to show a little bit more intense. It's called, remember back in high school, we did jumping jacks? Well, guess what? We're not going to do them now. Jumping jacks can be very intense, but we're going to do a modified jumping jack. It's something I call half jumping jack. So maybe it's 3/4 of a jumping jack. So we'll start with a half. Just taking the arms up and down. Again, up and lower down. So you can stay like this. Make it a little bit more challenging. You can step your leg out to the side. And the other leg. And the first. And the other, and then you could even go faster. But if you're feeling like it's getting to be too much, so I'm just going to slow it down. And if it's still too much, I'm just going to do my arms. If that's still too much, just start to walk in place. And we're going to come back to our bands again. Well, actually, let's use the dumbbells. If you have dumbbells, we're going to do the presses again. And then we may actually get a chance to use the chair. So it's called a shoulder press. Taking the arms up and down. Again, you can use the band if the weights, if you have like I'm using a lighter weight, so this is actually easier than the band. But if your weights are heavier, this might be a little harder. And then the other exercise doing the back, I'm going to use the chair. Just barely. I'm just going to sit just at the very edge of the chair I take the arm, my chest down onto my legs, and I take the arms out. Like my shoulder blades, I don't know if you can see in this, but my shoulder blades are squeezing together as I lift the weight up. I'll put the weights down I'll put the weights down. You can hold the weights. If you want to make this a little more challenging, you can come back to marching in place, walking in place. You can go back to the jumping jacks, our jumping jacks, the half jumping jacks. As we are in between, I want to keep the level of intensity high enough to keep the muscles warm. That's why I only sat down for a brief moment, just using the chair as an aid to help me exercise. And I'll come back to walking. As I'm coming into the squats again, I'm going to come a wide level again of the squat. And it's called a bouncing squat. So I'm going to bring my hips down, and then I'm going to come back up, but not all the way. I'm not going down all the way. I'm not coming up. You can stay right here in the middle and use the arms. This, if you're feeling this, I am already. This, you can feel a lot of intensity because the load is always on my legs. I'm never relaxed in this, doing this dynamic bouncing squat. Just remembering to breathe. And I'm stepping my feet together. You can walk if you're finding this too easy. Yeah, the jacks, the jumping jacks. If it's too hard, walking in place instead of marching. Like I said, if it's too easy, yeah, you can do those squats while holding the weights. Ooh, yeah. Okay, going back to our lunges again. Again, a bouncing lunge. So I'm going to lower down, but I'm not coming up all the way. I take my arms up. So my arms are moving a little fast because the movement is faster. Switching legs. See, I don't straighten my leg. I go back, I bend it into the pose, and I come halfway up. And I'm coming back up. In between again, you have to determine if it's too hard and it's hard to breathe. Just a little gentle walk in between. This is a good time for people that, that have been doing this more often and feel like they want more. It's giving them an option to still do their jumping jacks. You may just want to be careful with the weights when you're swinging your arms around. The weight doesn't go flying. And then we'll come back to the dumbbells again. So there's a problem with dumbbells is we always wind up with dumbbells that we become stronger, we don't need them. Again, so I have this weight, I can do both arms at one time. If you want to make it harder, I'm going to put both arms, both weights in the same arm. Just gonna switch sides. See how I'm going to take my opposite arm. I keep the elbow up. It wants to start drifting down as you get tired. Trying to keep the arm alongside the head. You can even feel this muscle in the back of the arm engaging while you're doing this. Then we'll come to the curls. Slowly coming up and down. The basic rule is it should take 3 seconds to lift the weight and 3 seconds to lower it down. And we're just going to roll the arms around. And we're coming to the presses again, holding the weight here, arms up and down. So it will increase giving more options to make these harder. The easiest way to make any of the exercise harder is just to use a heavier weight. The problem with that is the tendency, a lot of people will use heavier weights when they're not warmed up. Okay. Let's come back to walking as we're going to come into start to lower the intensity down. So if you were marching before, just to lower it down. Don't take the legs up as high. And we're going to come into one of the more important parts of this practice. We're walking in place, but walking is really not only a great exercise, but it's really good for your neurologically. It helps your nerve endings. We're going to do something that actually is even better. It's balance. So I'm going to come to center, have my feet about hip width apart. As we will shift the weight to this side into my left leg, I take the right leg up. And we'll go through, I'll show, there's going to be a lot more ways to make this even more difficult. Balance is not easy. I'm sure many people are going to need to hold on. I need to hold on sometimes. Lowering down and just feeling how one side is different than the other. That's part of the imbalances that are created in our bodies. So trying to do about the same thing on the other side. See, this is a little unsteady there, but that's actually good. The instability is what makes us more stable as we have to correct imbalances. And I'm just going to come back to walking as we're going to start to move more into some stretches. People that don't know me, I always do a gentle warm up and then cool it down, and then we do stretches at the end. So we're going to start to stretch the arms. Take your right arm up. Take the arm across. I'm stretching the back of the arm, even into the upper back. Very important now to focus on your breath. I'm just going to take my arm alongside my head. I'm pushing the elbow up. And I'm going to repeat that on the other side. Your muscles will stretch a lot better when they're warm. When we're just getting up in the morning and we start to stretch, the muscles are tight and they tend to get they tend to crimp up, and by stretching they actually get little tears in the muscles, which will create a lot of soreness in your muscles. And coming outside, when the muscles are warm, it's just like heating a piece of metal, and they can bend and do all kinds of things with metal. When it's warm, when it's hot, that's the basics of how our muscles are similar in that they molecularly they'll move easier. Yes, you can do this sitting down. The more you can do standing up, the better. Just circle the arms around. I'm going to take my hands. I'm going to interlock my fingers behind my back. I straighten the arms and I lift the chest. Doing it, holding everything for approximately 5 breaths. Releasing, I'm going to come into stretching my legs a little bit. So I'm going to take a wider step out. And I'm going to, this is actually technically it's like a lunge. I'm going to bend the knee, and then I'm going to go to the other side, bend the other knee. Stretching not only the back of the leg, but also the inner thighs. One more time on each side. Now I'm going to hold. And to the other side. This is great. You're doing good. This is a long time. We're going almost the whole class standing. It almost gets too easy to sit down all the time. We've got to force ourselves sometime to stand. I'm going to bring my feet together, just heel-toeing them together. And breathing. Okay, now we're gonna sit down. You can take the equipment aside and chair a little bit closer up. These are actually exercises that can be done, or stretches that can be done standing. Much harder, a lot of bounce. I'm gonna turn to the side, just so you can see. I'm gonna take my leg, stretch it back behind me. This is technically a lunge. It's a lot easier. I like to be on the top of the shoe. If you're feeling like sometimes I'm really tight in the bottom of my foot, I curl the toes in. It's really your preference, which is the better for you today, because every day it might be different. But very important to stretch this part from the knee all the way up to the hip. You want to make this even more challenging? Take the arms up. Doing the same thing on the other side. I bring my leg up. You could turn all the way to the other side. You can also, a single chair like this, if you're on a couch, you might be able to do it the way I was just doing it. Again, just taking the arms up. And rolling the arms down and bringing my leg forward. I'm going to stretch the back of the leg by taking the leg and straightening the leg, firming the muscles in the leg, and you start to feel the back of the leg getting a slight tight, tense, just a little stretching. Very important to keep the spine straight when doing this. I'm going to fold forward, but I'm keeping my back flat. The tendency is you want to round your spine to bring your head down onto your leg. That's not going to work. You lose the stretch when you start to round the spine. Coming up, I'm going to switch sides. So if you're doing this and you feel like this is too easy, as we go along, I will make this harder. Like I say, you can do these exercises standing, balancing pretty much on one leg. But if you find that that's too hard at any time, come back, use the chair. Use what you need. Coming back to center, we're just going to take the arms. Inhale, take the arms up. Exhale, the arms down. We went through a few variations of squats. So we're going to actually do just one more to come up to stand. You could even use your arms a little bit to get some momentum to come up. Try to avoid using your arms to push yourself up. Coming to stand, I'm just feeling the rise and fall, just feeling your breath. As we're coming into the more of a relaxation. And I'll get a little bit more into the posture. So I'll turn to the side. Basically, you want your ears, shoulders over the hips. Even when you're sitting, you can do that. But then you also want when you're standing, you want your hips over the legs. My legs are firm. I'm just going to slide my hands down, maybe to the knee. Maybe that's all you need. Maybe you can reach to the knee or below the knee. Trying to keep the back flat. See how I'm starting to round? I'd rather keep my back flat as I lower down. And coming up. We're going to do again, just a little bit more of a stretch. I'm going to take my arms out to the side and just bring my hands back and lift the chest. Just coming to center. Another stretch that we kind of did already, but this time I'm going to take my arms just one over the other. Lifting my elbows, I'm spreading the shoulder blades out. And then switching and going to the other side. Again, all the exercises can be made more challenging. They can be made easy. But the point is you want to find something that you find easy and enjoyable. If it's too hard and you're really sore from it, you're not going to want to do it. This is something you need to exercise regularly. The basic rule is 30 minutes of moderate exercise a day, 20 minutes of vigorous, but that's all variable. With everybody, what's vigorous to some people is easy to others. But just stay with it. Just keep exercising. Even at whatever level it is, even if it's not what you did yesterday, do something. Stay off the couch, get on the chairs and and get out and walk. Thank you very much, and I will be seeing you again.